welcome back to my channel. So, hello. I feel like I've been in your subscription box a lot this week. I've been uploading a lot of videos, and this video, I didn't plan on sitting down and filming right away, but after I uploaded, I guess we'll call it part one, although Dan's like, I don't think you should call it part one because I think that you should do these types of videos more often, but we'll call it part one in the week. I had so much fun filming it, and I honestly had so much fun reading your guys' comments. Like that day when the video went up, I sat on my couch in our bedroom and Dan was in the bed, and I was reading him your guys' comments. I always forget. It's funny, after 8 years, I still go through periods of forgetting just because I'm so frazzled left, right, and center. But I forget that when I do these sit down talking videos, they're so fun for me in a big way because I guess whatever I'm saying spurs you guys to share your thoughts and opinions. And I just get so excited hearing what you guys think about different things and the way that your life is going and your views, which I guess means the same thing as what you think about things. But it's just really cool, and it makes that computer connection feel even more real. So I was I think I just want to turn around and film another one and put it up. So I'm feeling in that vibe. And yeah, besides, I had so many more questions. Someone was like, you literally only answered 3 questions. I'm like, I know, I talk so much. Actually, I was watching Angela. I never know how to say your last name, Angela, if you're watching it. Braniff, from This Gathered Nest. And I was watching the speed at which she was answering questions, and I was like, that's very impressive. And at one point she's like, apparently you're gonna get my long-winded answers. And I was like, I filmed a 35-minute video and answered 3 questions. That wasn't long-winded at all. So I'm gonna maybe try to go faster, but at the same time, I don't even know. I'm just gonna see how it flows because I like giving long-winded answers. I like answering just genuinely what I'm thinking. That's what makes this so fun for me. So if you guys if the majority of you like watching this kind of stuff, me run my mouth, I like doing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start picking more questions because yeah, 3 out of a few hundred was not much. So, okay, I don't know. I feel like I've answered this question before. I'm not sure, but this question is from Erica. And she says, do you guys have long-term plans to move back to California? So the short answer to that is no. The long answer is I don't know. Honestly, I've said this before, Dan and I first off, we never expected to move out of California, really in general. And I never thought we were gonna be moving to Tennessee. Tennessee wasn't even on my radar. If you guys have seen my previous videos, you know that us moving to Nashville was literally one of 3 times in my life where I felt God speak to me very distinctly and clearly. And it was, you're going to Nashville. And then a whole bunch of things kind of unfolded from there. I've told this story before as to what ended up leading us here. So I didn't expect for us to be here. And both Dan and I mean, dude, we've moved 10 times over our marriage. Not to 10 different cities. A lot of them were within the same city, but we've moved residences 10 times. We've been married for almost 11 years, if you didn't know that, in February. So we tend to live our life very we're open. We're all right, God, wherever you take us, we're listening, we'll see. If I'm being honest, here's the thing. We could end up being in Nashville for the rest of our lives. That wouldn't surprise me. Also, let's just not ignore the fact that I don't know how long. I could be dead next week, you don't really know anything, obviously. But I could see us moving. We've talked about and looked at Atlanta, going down there and visiting. We've talked about looking at Colorado because there's a chance that my parents are going to move to Colorado and my sister wants to move to Colorado. There's so many things that I could see unfolding, and then there could be something on the in the future that is not even planned, just like how Nashville was not even planned. So I don't know is the point. But at this point, basically, to circle back, we don't have any plans to move back to California. At the same time, I loved California the whole time I lived there, my whole life. So I also wouldn't be surprised if God called us back to California because we loved it there. And I miss, obviously, family, and I miss the friendships that I had there, and I miss the food, holy Toledo, and sometimes I miss the weather. I like experiencing all these different kinds of like weather and seasons, but I do miss the weather there sometimes. Okay, I thought I've answered this question too, but when I get questions like this, I'm like, I can't remember. Jen Einstein said, how many kids do you want ultimately? This is a whole big another. I don't know. I'm not sure. The answer that we've kind of settled on as of now, but the reason I say I don't know is once again because of everything else I said, that like we just have to see where God takes us. But our current thought is that we want 2 kids. Dan jokes that he's like, I don't want to be outnumbered. So that's kind of where our head's at right now. But I've told him before, I'm like, I don't even feel like you can make a statement like that when we've never even had kids. Like, I could totally see us having kids and then wanting like a ton of them. Because honestly, we felt like that before with our dogs, where we're like, we want like 6 dogs. So, and I know dogs and kids are not even kind of the same thing. I'm just saying, like, I don't even know how we can for sure put a number on that when we haven't even experienced having 1 kid yet. So we're just gonna take it as it comes and see how we feel and see what God has for us. Okay, this is from Kate. She said, do you think your life would be different now if you didn't have your faith? I grew up in a Christian household, but I lost my faith when I was 13. I often wonder where I would be now and what I would be doing if I never became an atheist. Bowser, calm down. I know my life would be totally different if I hadn't grown up in a Christian household. You know, I've talked about this before, that like my faith is mine. And obviously my family, they're believers too. That's the point of this question. But I had to go through my own thing in my 20s where I was like, and I'm still here. I talked about this in the last video where I was like, what do I actually believe? What do I actually think? And I've said this to my sister before in regards to faith, that I don't actually like this whole thought of like, you have to know what you believe. You have to be sure about everything. I don't personally subscribe to, and I've said this before in general with like thoughts in general, that I believe you can hold 2 thoughts at once. I don't feel that you have to be super firm on something. And so like, even with my faith, I'm still at that place now where like, it's almost like my faith is like, oh, are you okay? I don't know if this is gonna make any sense to you because these aren't words, but I almost feel like my faith is more like, I have a feeling, I believe this, versus like, I believe this. Like, it's mostly just like, I've taken in information and I've researched things and I know how I feel and I know how my life has been affected by my faith and the things that I've been exposed to. And so I've chosen to be like, this makes sense to me. I believe this. I have a feeling and I think that this is true. But it's not so much from this place of like exactly what I just said. I believe this. It's not like super firm and opinionated, because I've said this before too. At the end of the day, it's what I think, it's what I believe, it's how I feel, but I've never met God. I've never touched Jesus. These are all conclusions that I've come to. So that's on a side note, the other reason why I've never been comfortable, like super, I don't want to say aggressively, because I understand people's hearts when they're doing this, but that's the only word I can think of, like aggressively, like pushing my faith on other people, because I also feel like if what I believe is true, if there is a God, if God sent his son, which I heard in church, we were talking about how like, how do I even word this? My thoughts are going 12 directions. If the son is the reflection of God and he came to earth and all of that is true, then like God's going to work through people. He's going to work through me. And I don't feel like I need to, I don't even know, like push things on people. That may be totally wrong. We aren't going to know till we die really like what's up. But I have to operate from a place of like what I feel good about, what I feel convicted towards. So, but as far as my life being different, if I hadn't grown up a believer, I can't even imagine, even just the perspective of like, because I grew up in the church. Now, keep in mind, my parents, especially my dad, because he was an atheist growing up, they didn't become believers till they were like early 30s. So around my age. And so they didn't live by a lot of the things that I was raised to learn and I was exposed to. But I remember when my parents first kind of presented me with the thought of like, they presented me with the thought of sex being a sacred thing for marriage, of sex being something that bonds you to someone that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. And just that in and of itself, like, I can't imagine just like what my relationships would have looked like, potentially how many relationships I might have had I been raised to see the world through a different lens. Especially, I mean, but then again, would I have even, I was gonna say especially because I grew up in entertainment. I grew up around people who had a totally different mindset of like what relationships look like, what sex is for. And so maneuvering that through a Christian perspective is very different than maneuvering that or being in that when you share the same perspective. But I was gonna say, then again, would I have even ended up like being around entertainment had I not grown up in my family? So that's kind of a weird thought. I don't know. Anyways, but I just think that my relationships, my life, my friendship history, everything would have been totally different if I hadn't grown up exposed to those thought processes, those types of morals. And yeah, just totally different. And I wouldn't have met Dan. I wouldn't be married to Dan because that was something that was important to me, was marrying someone who had a faith separate from me. I personally didn't want to get married to someone who was just willing to make a change for me. Not that I don't value when Dan makes changes in life for me because he sees something important or something that I deem important, but I wanted my partner to kind of have the relationship with God, have the faith, and have that desire to explore and learn on their own. And that last point is something that really that I really enjoy about Dan. We were having this conversation last night in the bathtub. Sometimes we just like sit in our tub and we just sit there and like soak and like stare at each other and just have these like deep conversations. And we were talking about, this is kind of on a separate note, which by the way, I got so many questions in my last video about what personality test I was talking about. I'll link my video I made about the Enneagram down below. But on the Enneagram, I am a 7. That's what I was talking about. Dan is a 5. 7s and 5s are very different in a lot of ways, and I talk about that in my Enneagram video. One of the biggest ones being that, like, to summarize a 7, is like that line from the movie Dumb and Dumber, like, it's a 1 in a million chance, and they're like, so you're saying there's a chance? Like, that's a 7. And a 5, it's like, there's a 1 in a million chance, and the 5's like, yeah, exactly, 1 in a million, it's not gonna happen. So that's like a very big difference between us, but something that we really have in common that I think has been a huge part of our connection and our bond is 5s, 6s, and 7s in the Enneagram all fall into this like category called like the thinking, the head triad. They tend to like kind of live a lot of their life in their head. And 7s, in different ways, by the way, they live in their heads, but totally different worlds in their heads. That was something Dan and I were talking about last night. But it's cool. I know this is kind of off the topic of religion, but it's all kind of part of it. It's cool because they said that what can attract meaning like, I think it was the Enneagram Institute, the article I was reading about 7s and 5s. They were saying that often the reason why 7s and 5s can kind of find their way together is because 7s on the surface can seem kind of like shallow and like they don't really think about things too deep and they're just always happy and that's all there is to them. So a lot of people won't have deep conversations with 7s because they don't even know that there is that depth there, when in reality 7s live in that head triad, so they actually think about things a lot. And 5s, it's like more evident they live in their head, but 5s will go there with 7s, so that tends to be like a bond between them. And so besides the fact, this is where it all circles back, that I wanted someone who had their own faith, I also just wanted someone who was going to continue to think about and pursue truth. That's something that's important to me. I've also realized in life that truth is, how do I word this? It's hard to find. Whether it be in the media, we're gonna even say it in faith. Dan and I were having this conversation that it's incredible that just in the one faith of Christianity, you can have people who believe such different things within it. In my head, I'm just like, isn't the most important thing who we believe Jesus, or his Hebrew name, Yeshua, to be, and the fact that it's all about love and taking care of other people. Like, aren't those the two most important, like, tenets, if that's the word? Loving people and who Jesus was and is. But point being, there can be all these different perspectives just from this one faith, or any other faith really for that matter. But I just think truth in politics, truth in the news, truth in history, truth in anything, it's hard to actually find, but I enjoy that search. I enjoy intellectually falling down these wormholes and studying and researching and finding out about things. But on a side note, that's something I really enjoy about Dan, is that he'll go there with me. And a lot of people don't even know that I would even like to go there on those topics. So that was, all of that came back to, see, here I am, 2 questions in, 16 minutes of recording, maybe 3, I don't know. If my life would be different if I wasn't raised a Christian, 100% different. And I mentioned this in the last video, that my relationship with God and starting my day in prayer, and just having him to talk to throughout the day, and the Bible and what I've learned through expanding my knowledge in that, and the stories that are in there, are life-changing, have altered my life drastically. I can't even imagine if I hadn't been raised in that situation, in that household. That's the word I'm looking for. And I've said this before, it was a very unique household to grow up in as well, because my dad specifically was an atheist till he was like 31 or 32, somewhere around there. And so he's got a very specific view of God and of Jesus and of unconditional love. And he has this unique perspective of how much his life completely changed when he came to that place of accepting who he believes Jesus is and was, and what he did, and his life radically changed. So I always look at him and I'm like, man, that's cool. I'm so grateful for the way I was raised and the life that I believe I was kind of like set up to have. Whoa, it's getting really sunny. Sorry, now that it's winter, the sun is always like right in this window. I should probably flip around, but I'm too lazy. But yeah, the life I was set up to have. But I also think that has got to be such a cool, like, because I don't know anything else. Even though I've found my faith and my positions on my own, I'm like, man, that's kind of got to be cool to see your life radically change and your perspective from like one period of time to the other, just from coming to a realization and acceptance, not just, but yeah, of all of those things. So yeah, okay, next question. Okay, Ashley Chapman, if YouTube didn't exist, what would you be doing as your job? This keeps getting brighter and brighter in here, man. Ashley, I literally don't know. I've been doing YouTube for 8 years. Okay, I'll back up and tell you what I was doing beforehand, because that might give us a little, this lighting is crazy. That might give us a little insight, perspective to what I might be doing. To those of you that have never seen my Draw My Life video, I was a dance teacher for 5 years, actually almost 6 years. So I did that for a long time, back when my body could handle dancing. I loved it. Stopping dance was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life, which is like super dramatic, but it really was. And that was, as you guys know, a big part of what led me to sing, because I went through about 2 years where I couldn't even listen to music. I would just sob when music was on, because it like touched me so much emotionally. I felt like I couldn't express myself anymore. And then I went through this whole period of time where it was like, dude, you can still be around music if you just get over yourself and sing. Like, but I was so embarrassed. Singing has always been the most vulnerable thing for me. I think singing is just very vulnerable in general. But it's been years in the making, years of a process of accepting, like, okay, if you want to be around music, which I do, because I've realized it's so life-giving for me to participate in music somehow, then you just have to get over yourself and stop judging yourself so harshly. Which, side note, that was like 50% of my therapy session the other day was about me judging myself, and learning about I need to stop judging myself, and about how I need to start just like living in the moment more, for lack of a better phrase, and trusting that God is going to work through me. This lighting is crazy. Trusting that God is going to work through me even if I'm not aware. And that really, that's kind of the whole point of faith anyways. Faith in Jesus is that like I can't fix myself. I can't do it by myself. And that's not to sweep aside, you know, self-awareness and education and learning more about yourself. You guys know that I'm all about that. But also realizing like, hey, I need to just live and trust that like, if God wants me to learn something or change something, that he's gonna work through me and that's gonna happen. I literally am blanking as to why I brought that up. I know we were talking about music. Oh, stopping judging myself. Like the fact that I wasn't involved in music for a while, because I wasn't dancing and I was just too judgmental and harsh of myself and keeping myself out of something that was life-giving because I was just judging myself. Sucked. But that's a side note. What job I'd be doing if I wasn't doing YouTube? Probably something in the arts or nothing would be my guess. I would either be a stay-at-home mom, which I'm still gonna be anyways once we get the babies in our life. But I would probably be working as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'd go back to teaching like little kid dance. Like I loved teaching 2 to 5 year old ballet tap combo classes, and that's easy. I don't know if I'd find as much fulfillment in that, but if I had to get a job, it would be really fun to be with the babies. I loved when I worked at a theme park, but we don't live around any theme parks. I loved hosting. I could totally, if I felt like putting in the grind, I feel like I could totally be a professional host. Like it's pretty dang easy for me to host when I've done those gigs before. If you guys have ever seen, I did like an Amazon hosting gig about 1.5 years ago. I did like a Honda music hosting gig, and for some reason it's just really easy for me to be like, hey guys, what's up? We're here today with Honda at this, you know, music show, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I really like it, and it's not something that like I'm only comfortable doing like alone in my house with you guys. I'm pretty comfortable, watch me like get another hosting gig and like blow it, but I'm pretty comfortable like doing this even like on set. So maybe I do something like that. But what I like about YouTube is that it is going to continue to allow me to fulfill this, or it's going to allow me to fulfill this other dream that I also have, which is to be a stay-at-home mom. So as long as I'm able to do this, I think I'm going to. And even when I go through meltdown periods of like Dan, a couple weeks ago, I was having a meltdown. He's like, do you want to just quit it all and we'll move back to California and I'll start welding again, because he has a welding inspector license, as well as his welding license, but the inspector's license is like, what's the big deal back in California, and it pays really well. Like if you're a welding inspector, even just a welder, you get paid really well in California. So he's like, what if we do that? We just get rid of everything, move back to California, you can stop YouTube and I'll work. And I was like, but I don't want to stop YouTube. Like I was having like a meltdown, but I'm like, I literally don't know what else I would do. Like I would get bored. I like creating. Pre-YouTube, I used to make videos just to like show my family. So yeah, another long answer to say probably something artsy. I don't really know though. Okay, this is a long question because it's like broken up in segments. Is this driving you guys crazy, this sun situation? Whatever, we're gonna roll with it. Deanna Bell says, what is your favorite meal to cook for or with Dan? It changes all the time. I love making like mushroom risotto. I love making salmon tacos. I think I made those in a video recently. I love making like crock pot chili, although I've only made one recently of those that was like really good. It was really good. And then the one I made after I kind of bombed. But I do like making that. I like having pasta. Dan and I like cooking pasta together now because he'll make the pasta noodles from scratch. And it's everything, but a lot of different recipes. The second part of the question says, are you hoping to adopt a boy or a girl, or does it not matter? Doesn't matter, because whatever gender we get first, we're gonna go for the other gender the second time. But now that we're in foster care, I don't even know. I mean, like, I don't really have a preference. I think that there are things about the thought of having a girl that sounds so fun, getting her dressed, and just little girls are so cute. But then there's things about having a little boy, like, are you kidding me? A little baby boy? Like, just sounds so cute. So I just kind of once again think like, whatever God has for us, that's what we'll be doing. I feel like I'm saying that this whole video, but it's true. Oh, what is your favorite restaurant in Nashville? By far, it's Bar Taco. We're actually going there for lunch after I film this video. I love Bar Taco. And what books are you currently reading? I actually need to check my Audible. So to those of you that don't know, I actually don't read. Just because I don't really like it, I don't like the act of sitting there hunched over reading, but I love Audible. I'll just read you the last few books I have on my list. I was re-listening to Savor. It's called Savor, Living Abundantly. Living Abundantly Where You Are As You Are by Shauna Niequist. She is my favorite author. This is actually a 365-day devotional where every day she's got different thoughts. She's been my favorite author for the last couple of years now. I think just because I relate to her a lot, but she's a few years down the line from me. She's also a 7 on the Enneagram, so a lot of her inner struggles are things that I relate to so deeply. So she's got quite a few books out, but that was the one I was listening to recently. I was also listening recently to I Am Determined by Joyce Meyer. That's a good one too. I've listened to Joyce for the last decade. And yeah, it's a good book. I have download here You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, but I've only listened to the first couple chapters, or maybe even one chapter. After that, I have Bittersweet Thoughts on, what does it say? Bittersweet Thoughts on Change, Grace, and Learning the Hard Way, which is another Shauna Niequist book. And then I'm just reading the top 5. Oh, and then I downloaded a book by someone named Levi Lusko. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's called I Declare War. So those are my books that are on my reading list right now. Okay, Becca said, are you planning on doing How to Be Happy January? Also, please do a video on how to stay motivated in the winter. So I'm very torn on How to Be Happy January. I've always I love the concept. That's why I came up with it, because I feel January can be kind of a slump point for people. And a lot of the times the reasons people set goals in January, a lot of it ties back to wanting to increase their happiness. And that's why I made this series. But also because I am a 7 on the Enneagram, there's a part of me that hardcore rebels from feeling I have to do anything. If I feel people want me to do something, then there's part of me that's I'm not doing that. It's really bratty, but it's totally a 7 thing. I know I always refer to that, but it's true. Ever since I read the Enneagram, there's so many things that I'm oh, that's totally because I'm a 7. Makes sense. So I'm undecided. I'm kind of curious if I were to do How to Be Happy January this year, just to kind of get some of my juices rolling while I think about this. What would you guys want me to do, to talk about? Or is that a lame question to ask? Is that kind of you're looking back at the screen that's your job, you're the creator? Because I'm just curious, if you'd want talking videos, if you'd want certain kinds of lifestyle videos, cooking videos, I'm curious. My head's kind of thinking. We'll see. Okay, Lady Penny Royal said, are you considering any more beauty treatments? Also, what has been your most worth it treatment? Love you. Love you too, girlfriend. Okay, I am definitely getting more. I am kind of always continuously working on my skin. To those of you that don't know this for some reason, I had really cystic acne growing up from around 18 through my mid-20s. And so cute burping. I'm still dealing with the scarring from that, and my scarring has gotten that. So that's the reason, let me stop that. That's the reason I want to keep going, because my scarring has gotten so much better over the years. Every time I get a treatment done, my scarring gets a little better. And every time people will be oh my gosh, people in my real life, I don't even see your scars anymore. You don't need to do anything. And then I'll do a treatment, and then people will be oh my gosh, see, now they're gone. Everybody can see as they get better. I think people just don't expect it to get any better, or you don't really notice because it's not I have huge scarring on my face. But I actually took a picture recently I'll insert it here if I can remember. And I sent it to my facialist because I go to Cool Springs Plastic Surgery in Brentwood here in like the Nashville area, and I work with them on treatments. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be filming this next treatment. It's something, I think it's called the Halo Laser. And we're not only doing my face, but this time we're actually gonna do a little work on my neck and chest too. And I'm actually gonna try to convince them to do some work on my shoulders. And I wanna like document that. This is a constant is the wrong word, but this has been a continuous, that's the word, conversation that I've had with Dan over the years of like, is this bad of me that I love getting these treatments done? Like, I don't wanna make anyone else feel bad or feel like they have to do anything, but I love it. It's so fun to like watch my whole face peel off and then be like, oh, it's even smoother, like they're going away. So I'm super excited. That's the next treatment I'm getting, and I'm actually getting it in January. So that's circling back to How to Be Happy January. That's part of the issue too, is that January is also gonna be very busy. I'm getting this crazy skin treatment, which is probably gonna be like a week of looking insane and healing. We're going to California for like 5 days. We start our foster care classes. We start our first class like January 6th, and then we go every single week. So we're gonna be, and we're doing home study in the middle of that, because I don't even think I told you guys this. I'll kind of address all this in our next foster update, is that we have to redo a lot of our home study because the home study was different for international adoption. So we're gonna be doing a lot. So part of me is like, okay, if I do How to Be Happy, like I'm obviously gonna be uploading because I don't go away. I love it, and this is like my job. But it's like, what am I gonna be doing? Can I commit to that kind of structure? Maybe it's not that big of a deal and I really can just focus my content around that subject. And if you guys want that, maybe that is a good idea. But that's kind of gives you a picture of like what January is gonna look like for us. So yes, I will be doing Halo, I believe it's called. Maybe it's called the Pearl, I'm not sure. But you'll see a whole video about that as well. Okay, Gabby Watson, is there any part of you that mourns or has previously mourned not having biological children? What about Dan? Okay, so there's kind of, my brain has two thoughts to this. Something that you should know is that both 5s and 7s typically, and I know this is true for Dan and I in a lot of ways, have a very like logical side of their brain that can sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Set emotions aside and focus on that, like, logic isn't even the right word. I can't think of the word, not purposeful. The word is escaping me, but practical, there's the word, practical side of the brain. So this is kind of a double answer. The first answer is yes, but I only half say yes because we're not positive we're not having biological children. I am very open to the fact that I might get better one day. I felt like for a long time I just believed like if I'm not better now, I'm never getting better. But I've realized in recent time that that's a total lie. I could totally be healed at any point. Or my pain could just like, my pain levels could just go down at any point. So I don't know why I was convinced like this is my lot in life forever, because I'm realizing that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. So things could change and we might have biological children or a biological child. And not only could it change, but I also may come to the point where I'm like, just kidding, I don't care, let's try. Like, I don't really know what's gonna happen. And honestly, nothing would really surprise me because I think it sounds fun to have a biological child. Like, the thought of making a human together and watching them grow. I mean, like, I have so much fun doing that with plants and my dogs. Like, I can't even imagine a person. So it is not completely off the table. But when I have thought of the reality of like, we may never do that, there has been a little bit of like a sadness, like but I tried not to sit there too long because of what I just said, realizing like, why are you being sad? You literally, if I'm fertile, I probably have another 10 years of fertility in me. So I was like, why are you worried? Like, you don't even know what's gonna happen. Don't mourn now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this is something I was saying to Dan yesterday. It's really hard to explain, and I hope this doesn't sound rude, I don't know. But like, part of why I'm excited to adopt and to foster to adopt, whatever ends up panning out, is not just for myself. Like, oh, I can't wait to have a baby. obviously a piece of the pie is that, like, having a kid around. We don't know what the age is going to be. You know, there's a part of that, but a almost bigger part of that is this purposeful feeling of like I can't wait to fill a role for someone, for a child that needs that role filled. So like less about like my excitement to be a mommy and more about the excitement, that's not the right word, but around getting to fill a need, and fill a need that will come also with joy and fulfillment and fun. Like, so it's not only, it's like both. It's like, wow, I'm gonna get to fill this need. That feels purposeful. I mean, you guys know, like, I have James 127 tattooed on me. This is something that I really want to do, but then also I know it's gonna be filled with a lot of laughter and fun, as well as the things that are gonna be hard in there and positive. So yeah, even if we don't have biological children, if that's what ends up happening, I'm positive there will be some kind of mourning point, or I'll have different points in my life where I'm like, oh man, I didn't do that. But at the same time, and I say, it's so scary to say this on the internet, right? Because you never know what's gonna happen. But we are walking in something we feel strongly called to, and strongly like equipped for, to love these kids. And Dan, I never circled back on that. Dan, no, he doesn't even go there. That's kind of a 5 thing too, because he practically and logically feels like, well, there are some people that like can't get pregnant ever. And like, there's some people that die before they can have a kid. Like, he's kind of just like, whatever. And he's said to me before, you guys know this, when it comes to all of the adoption stuff, he's like, why is that what's important? Like, I love you more than anyone else on this whole planet, and you're not related to me. So he's definitely not had like a full-on mourning process. I don't know if that'll change one day, if it crosses the point of like, oh, we're definitely not having kids, maybe then, but I don't know. It's trying to think how to word this. Dan has the ability to keep a cap on emotions that he doesn't want to deal with. So sometimes it's like I can easily answer, oh no, he's fine. And that's because he is. But then I'm like, well, if you really want to push, I don't know, there might be more there than he's even recognizing or sharing. And that's a Dan thing, and that's a 5 thing. And I'm sorry I mention these dang numbers all the time, but I can't help it. Sorry, not sorry. So, yeah, that was my other extremely long-winded answer. Ooh, this is a good, nice, light one. Elaine Del Rio Vargas said, why did you stop painting your nails? So, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I always painted my nails. My favorite color was Lincoln Park After Dark, which is basically like a dark black. I stopped for a few reasons, okay? There's a lot of reasons. One, I've always loved the look of when girls have like really pretty natural nails. I was never one of those girls, especially because I used to pick my thumbs to shreds. So painting them was kind of like a way to camouflage that. But I don't pick my thumbs anymore, so it's great. So I don't paint my nails now. Also, Dan has never been a huge fan of the painted nail look. And so when I stopped picking my thumbs, I was like, I think I want to do this. Plus it's less maintenance. Plus I think no paint on your nails is like, it's very pretty. And then I'm not, you know, I'm taking one more toxic thing like out of my routine, because there are so many other things I do in my beauty routine that are toxic that I'm not willing to get rid of. So I'm like, if I'm willing to get rid of one thing, then like I should probably get rid of it. So, yeah. Oh, someone asked, when did you decide to leave your old habits like vaping and start healthier ones? I'm not sure what you mean. This is Addison Gymnast, by the way. I actually still vape. So I vape CBD. If you guys have seen my CBD video, I still use it. Okay, this is gonna be the last question I answer. It's really hard for me to stop because there are so many questions and I wanna keep answering. So once again, please let me know and give this video a thumbs up if you like it and you wanna see me do another one. I could just like keep these going and just start like doing more of these videos if you guys like them, because like I said, this is fun for me to just like sit and chat. Just kidding, I'm actually gonna answer 2 questions because I found another one I saw. So first one, Emily1234, tips for being confident. I love your personality, girl. Thanks, Emily. I had this exact conversation last night with Dan in the bathtub because at my therapy session yesterday, one of the things we talked about was confidence. And I talked about this with my sister last night too, that like, it's hard sometimes to feel confident when you like someone else's style, the way that they execute something, the way that they dress, the way they talk, whatever. It's hard to find yourself in that mix because you're like, okay, do I want to change something about myself, or is this just something like I should just admire them, but like I'm me and I do my thing? And, you know, my therapist was basically talking to me about confidence and about judging and all of that. And she was like, you have to become okay with who you are, which this is not to say that I'm like this huge thing, like not okay with who I am, but I go through these days where like I am not okay with who I am. I'm like, why am I like this? I said this in the last video, like this child adult that like, and these are really mean thoughts, and I'm trying not to say this to myself, I'm just vocalizing for the video, that like can't get my life together and can't do anything well and everything I do is half-ass, and you know, all these thoughts that I have. She basically was like, you need to be confident in who you are, because when you get a child in your home, if you can be confident in yourself, that's going to help instill that in them. And even though that's very obvious, it really resonated with me. I was like, man, that is something that's true, and that's something that I can give a child, is by being comfortable in myself, I can help them. Now that's hard because, like I said, it's like, do you, like, let's say I am a hot mess, do I just own that? Or is it like, no, there's an effort you need to make to improve? Like, where are those lines? And that's difficult. And I realize this isn't answering your question about confidence. It's more just letting you in on the fact that I'm not confident all the time. It definitely comes and goes. But I think that is going to come through, just like my therapist said, not judging myself in all of the things that I do, just letting things be, letting myself just do things. And trying to not take yourself so seriously. I think that's another thing. But yeah, I guess, I don't even know, man. It's hard for me sometimes. I will look at other people and feel like, what's wrong with me? I need to be more like them. And side note, it gets especially hard on YouTube sometimes because you will tie your views and your personality together, or you can, it's a slippery slope. And so then you're like, well, maybe it's because I need to change this aspect of my personality. Like, not just for the views, but like, are the views not up because I have this problem? Not like change it for the views, but if it's like a cause and effect kind of thing, like if I had my life together more, maybe this would be doing better. Like, it's this weird head trip of a job, which is why I had that meltdown last week. And Dan was like, let's move back to California. You know, he wasn't saying, he was like, do you want to move back to California? It just can be it can be a head trip. But I would say those would be my tips, is work on not judging yourself as much, finding the things that you love and embracing them. Yeah, that's that. So the last question I'm going to answer is a nice, fun, kind of light topic. What inspires you the most? Oh, about your music. Oh, I thought it was what inspires you the most about music. This is Christina Beth. Hey, Christina. Okay, well, if it's what inspires me the most about my music, I don't know how to answer that because I've never done originals. I've only done covers. And so those covers are really a product of other people's work. It's the product of my producer's work, the person who produced the track, the person who arranged the track and picked the instruments and gave them their, you know, their music to play. I was gonna say their melodic line, whatever. The person who mixed the track, like the engineer, it's a product of the musicians. Like, I'm just singing. And so I don't really know, because they're not originals, how to fully answer that. What inspires me most about music in general is this mysterious fact that it can move you no matter what age, no matter where you're from. It can bring up so much emotion. Guys, if you haven't seen the video, I just got chills thinking about it. There's a few videos on the internet because this is happening to kids all over. I don't want to say his name, I think it's Andrea Bocelli. He's a Italian opera singer, I believe, really famous. And he has this one song that was really famous that you would know. And he went on Elmo, or on Sesame Street, to sing a duet of that song, changed the words with Elmo. Well, there are videos all over the internet of parents filming their kids when they're watching it, and these kids are crying. We're talking babies, like babies, 3-year-olds sobbing or like choking back tears because they're so moved by the music. Dan is such a cute 5. He was like, it's happening because they played the song in a D, like in a D minor chord or something like that. And it's a descending song, so it's, triggers this emotion, which honestly is probably mathematically right or whatever. But it's amazing to me that music can do that to babies. And that's what I love about music, is this unspoken, but also spoken, because there are lyrics, ways that like all of us are wired, if you have hearing, to connect through music. I just think it's such a cool, connective art form. It gives me chills, it inspires me, and that's been my favorite thing about living in Nashville, is it really is Music City. Every time we go out for a show, I literally look at Dan and I'm like, where the heck do we live? Because the people that live here are so musically talented. It's actually insane. I go to these shows and I'm like, what is even happening right now? I don't get it. People's singing voices, perfect pitch, beautiful tone, people's like instrumental abilities, out of this freaking world. And I'm getting chills while saying this. I love it. So I'm going to end there on that note, because I think I've been talking for like 45 minutes. So yeah, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And like I said, let me know if you want to see another one, and I will see you back here soon. Speaking of music, I have a music video going up this week. I just filmed it yesterday, and it's a duet with Landon Austin. It's actually available on Spotify now if you want to hear it. We did a mashup. It's really exciting, of The Middle, like Jimmy Eats World. Just take some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. That song, mashed with another The Middle, whatever. I'm gonna link it, but that music video is gonna go up this weekend. I have a few more videos going up this week, so I'll see you back here soon. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'm gonna go eat bar taco now, and then go to my laser hair place. So I'll see you later. Bye, guys.